VGK returned to the ice Sunday, minus one player who has his name on the cup, and the team is getting healthy as William Karlsson was back on the ice, and several other players are now skating on their own. We'll get into everything on this Monday edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. And please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by Sleeper. Download the app. Get up to $100 match on your first deposit by using the promo code Locked On NHL. Chris, Sunday VGK returns to the ice to practice the first time, I think it was in 8 days. As the team met as a whole, VGK had to bid farewell to a popular player, Brayden Pachal, placed on waivers Saturday and then picked up by the Flames on Sunday. Bruce Cassidy said that he sees this as an opportunity for the guy that they call Pickles. Had to go back and do some digging. Who in the world is Pickles? And so he thinks that he'll get a good opportunity to get more playing time, more minutes in Calgary. And we heard from Cassidy saying that the NHL and with his team, it's a numbers game.
For sure, 100%. And I'm trying to find the Flames think this is a pretty significant
his name's on the
acquisition, cup. Which is fine. I mean, listen, not going to knock Brayden Pachal and what he did in with his opportunities and things like that. And I'm trying to remember what game it was, but Pachal just had a pretty poor game. And at that moment, you had Ben Hutton around. Bjornfoot wasn't in the picture yet. Korczak was doing okay. Hutton was doing fine. And it just felt like from that moment on, Pachal found himself on the bench. And I'm not saying there's any problems or anything like that. It's not the case. But just sometimes a player doesn't click. Other players pass you on the depth chart. And this is something that I brought up multiple times, I believe, on the podcast. I can't remember how long ago it was, but I felt Pachal was going to be a waivers casualty.
You did. I'll give you credit. Yep, you did.
As people will be returning to health, and obviously, it's like Cassidy said, it is a numbers game. Obviously, Coach Cassidy did mention that he has his name on the Stanley Cup. So there you go, Tony. I don't know if you caught that part of it.
So bitter. I'm just bitter about that. Come on.
Very high character player, which is good. I mean, that's definitely fair. And, now he gets a shot to show what he can do maybe with a little more playing time with the Flames. It's not a bad claim for the Flames, right? It's only upside as far as they're concerned. Flames are in a weird spot, and hopefully Pachal does well. And now we get another welcome back video next season.
Yeah, VGK not in a pickle. This was a depth piece, but as you mentioned, odd man out. Had to throw that in there.
How is that not the open? That should have been the open, Tony. You screwed up today. Should have been the open.
So Pachal, now the past 5 seasons he spent with VGK, started with the Chicago Wolves. Went to the Silver Knights, 17 games with VGK. Oh my goodness. Does he have upside? I mean, he's 24 years of age, and we've seen deals like this before where players leave the VGK. They're stuck, in a numbers game, so to speak, and then they go somewhere else and they flourish a little bit. Do you think he has that upside?
It's too early to tell. I mean, he didn't get a long enough opportunity in Vegas. You mentioned time with the Chicago Wolves. That's obviously when the Golden Knights had their affiliation and everything.
But now it's rigged. Now it's rigged because they're right down the street.
Yes, yeah.
The AHL team right down the street. Twist that.
Yeah. I mean, looking at Pachal's stats, his stats. I mean, obviously in the WHL, he had a really good offensive season with 15 goals and 36 assists, 66 points. Outside of that, once he got into the AHL, he really more developed into that stay-at-home defenseman. a poor man's Brayden McNabb. And I just say that because there's obviously a talent gap and an experience gap between the two. Can Brayden Pachal get himself to an everyday, third line defenseman type role or third pairing defensive type of role? Could he maybe get paired with, the likes of a Shea Theodore, whoever that version of that team is with the Calgary Flames? Because he's going to be the one that stays home. Possibly, he could certainly turn into that. There definitely was enough of a sample size to know that when the defensemen are healthy, you're playing Hutton before Pachal, you're playing Korzak before Pachal, you're playing Bjornfoot ahead of Pachal, and the team, I think, thought higher of Daniil Miramanov. We'll obviously hit that in a second here. So really, Pachal found himself 10th on the depth chart, and there's just no room for that type of player given the contract situation. So cap casualty, waiver casualty, it's going to happen. It wasn't a player that's going to necessarily negatively impact the Golden Knights for a Stanley Cup run. Would have been more beneficial to see him go down to Henderson, who obviously could use that type of help.
Also announced on Sunday, as you just alluded to, Daniil Miramanov. He was put on the LTIR list from the long-term conditioning list that popped up on Cap Friendly yesterday when I was just browsing around. And so any idea what this move, Chris, is all about?
No, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the different chat rooms and stuff that I'm in, and I saw people allude to the fact that Miramanov was maybe seen like limping a little bit. Well, who's not limping after a hockey game?
Or after a vacation in Cabo.
After a vacation in Cabo. Yeah, there you go. I mean, there's not a lot of news out there talking about Miramanov and something that may or may not have happened in the weekend's games. So it's odd to see someone come off of a long-term conditioning stint, or however it's worded in the NHL, and go back to the LTIR. That seems strange. Miramanov was medically cleared on January 23rd, according to Cap Friendly. And, I think that my concern but Coach Cassidy also mentioned he was possibly healthy today or in yesterday's press conference. So I don't know if Cassidy was not on the same page. I don't know if there's a reason. I'm not 100% sure as to what's going on. I hope this is not a new injury or a re-aggravation of Miramanov's current injury, because, I mean, let's face it, he's missed, I want to say, 8 months of activity, 10 months? Like, he's been gone.
It was an ACL, right? I mean, I think so.
I mean, I don't know if it was ever announced. I mean, I saw the guy on a scooter a couple of times, last season.
He slipped and said that. He said that in the past.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, then I didn't catch that. Okay, Cassidy was giving a lot of information yesterday's
Too much information
talking about Amadio's food allergy, and they called it a lower body injury.
What in the world was that?
That's not a good day. That's not a good day. So, no, real fast. Just my concern on Miramanov is this is a new injury, and he's been gone for 7-8 months, and he's right back to LTIR. You hope this isn't like a career-threatening situation, because that would be terribly unfortunate. Miramanov, he's one of the most. Pardon me. He's one of the most well-liked Silver Knight players.
That was an upper body injury right there.
We held that one in. And then obviously with the Golden Knights in his, short time, the dude scoring goals, moving the puck well, and really could have been a short-term answer to a lot of the Golden Knights' problems on the defense without having Shea Theodore.
Yeah. When Cassidy did speak about Miramanov in the past, one time he did say, an ACL injury, I had one of those, and this is what happened and whatever.
He had both of them,
it was both of them, right?
Yeah,
Cassidy or Miramanov?
Cassidy mentioned that a few times. He's injured both his ACLs.
Both ACLs, yeah. Coming up next, William Karlsson back on the ice on Sunday after coming off the injured list during the All-Star break. We talk about his return, other players returning to the ice, and maybe back perhaps soon. We'll get into all that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. We want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contest. What players would you like to take this week to win 100 times the money? Fans can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and more on Sleeper. and you can connect with all the other fans as well. Some of the players perhaps that you want to pick, although watch out for that guy being a little bit lazy in Nikita Kucherov. Oh my goodness, the skills competition, the no skills competition. He pulled a Pasternak on us there. 85 points so far. McKinnon with 84. JT Miller has good value there, Mr. Golick, because Miller, 67 points, but he only has 100 shots on goal, this guy. Mostly assists he's got. So don't forget, you can do this and pick projections for things like goals, for assists, for saves, plus, minus, and much, much more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard us, VGK fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail your picks now, and you could start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKDOWNNHL, and you will get up to $100 match in your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKDOWNNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use. Welcome back. Locked On Golden Knights, this Monday edition. A very busy week ahead for some of us on this broadcast today. We appreciate you making us your first listen. Thank you so much. And don't forget, on Fridays, WTF, Saturdays, the Chris and Chris exclusive. And that's on YouTube. And little Chris had some, man, he came out with some fire this past weekend, yeah? No.
Oh,
no?
Chris.
Yes, no.
Chris caught me off guard. So we were
He's been watching
about
the podcast, and he's modeling himself after me, I'm sure.
So we were talking on Saturday, me and Chris and the Chris and Chris show, about which Golden Knights may have done well in various skills competitions that they had during the All-Star weekend. And we got to that passing one, the one that Kucherov was absolutely terrible in. And I asked Chris, who would have done well in that competition? Chris says Kolesar. I look at him like, what do you mean Kolesar? He's like, well, he never scores, so he can probably pass really well.
Oh my goodness. Too good.
Oh, Christopher. Oh, Christopher.
William Karlsson, Vegas Bjorn, was back on the ice on Sunday after going scoreless without a goal, actually injured for 13 games. Cassidy said that he is getting close. Good to see him, he said, and hoping that Karlsson will be back on the ice on Tuesday against Edmonton. So now, Chris, we've got Vegas Bjorn back. Vegas Bjorn Slew Foot is coming back. Tobias, that is. I'll use my own nicknames if Bruce is going to do this in pressers. If you're an out-of-town media person, it's just, how do you figure out who the heck Pickles is? Okay, so Cassidy said Dorofeev is scheduled to skate on Tuesday, not back yet. And some other updates from Cassidy: Eichel, Theodore, Carrier, Hutton are now skating on their own. So we could see a return perhaps from most of these players, if not all, by the middle part or end of this month. What are your thoughts?
First of all, back to Karlsson. Coach Cassidy will officially make the announcement Tuesday if he's going to be in or not. I'm sure Karlsson will draw back in. Dorofeev probably by the end of the week. As far as everybody else, the fact that they're on the ice skating now is tremendous news. I would say the short side, middle of the month to the end of the month, is probably a reasonable expectation for, as far as a timeline goes, for all these players to potentially return. I don't know who outside of Dorofeev would be the soonest. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, but I would have to assume, hoping that nothing new happens, I would say somewhere in the next 2 weeks, you will start to see a trickle, and maybe even a tiny bit less. And I think the end of February is probably a good over-under, as far as if every, a good line is set if every single injured player will return. And if that's the case, I mean, that's definitely more welcoming news than what we might have expected on some of these players. Of course, Jack Eichel, I've heard anywhere from, a little 4 to 6 week situation to season ending and anything in between. You look at what's happening with Miramanov. Hopefully no one goes backwards, unfortunately, or like what happened with Aiden Hill a while back. So definitely welcoming news, as we'll hit more on February in the third segment, of course, but the Golden Knights have a relatively light February compared to the rest of the season and some of the other months they've had. So Golden Knights are in a really nice spot right now. They're in a real nice spot as far as injuries, games coming up, and players returning.
So Karlsson, was he ready, do you think, before the break, and they just held him out? Because the day after the Detroit game, they announced that he's off of LTIR, so he's healthy. What was that all about?
There's always a reason. The team just doesn't announce things for the sake of announcing things. There's always a reason to the timing and stuff like that. Why did they wait the first day of the break to announce Karlsson? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that, but I'm sure there is an answer for that. Could Karlsson have possibly come back sooner? If this was a playoff situation, and the fact that all of a sudden, right after the season, the regular season, goes into a pause, so to speak, they say, okay, you're ready. They felt there was enough of a wide enough berth, I guess that's the appropriate way to say it, in which that Karlsson could have would be good to come back sometime between the break and obviously the game against the Oilers. You have to wonder if that was kind of the plan for a while, if that was the circled game, if you will. You go back to Jay Woodcroft's comments about William Karlsson. Shutting down isn't the word to use, but definitely slowing down McDavid's production a little bit, as Karlsson was basically matched up directly with Connor McDavid as much as they could have. So not an easy assignment to your first game after missing basically a month of play. Karlsson was gone after the Winter Classic, and we didn't see him obviously until yesterday returned to the ice. So you're going to have McDavid, who's certainly in his midseason form. If there's any hope, I guess, for McDavid to slow him down, it's the All-Star weekend, right? Players have that All-Star weekend. They have that time off and everything. And then the All-Star game itself, they're playing at about 15% speed. So maybe it'll take a second for McDavid's legs to come back, and Draisaitl for that matter too. Hopefully Karlsson can weather that storm long enough to where his legs come back. And as the game progresses, Karlsson can do what he does against McDavid, and that's shutting him down. No, I mean, if you shut him down, that's wonderful, but keep him to 2 points or less. Keep him to 2 points or less, and
I think my over-under is 3.5 because he's going to be on a mission. I really think he's going to burn Willie Karlsson. I do.
The Oilers they're on that mission. That Stanley Cup or bust statement that we were all laughing at about 4 months ago. We're not laughing anymore. Not laughing anymore.
That's so crazy. And then seriously, what are they going to do with this Bjornfoot guy? What do they do with him? He's out in a red jersey at practice yesterday. Some of these pieces have to go away, right?
Yes and no. So looking at cap friendly, the only player who is on LTIR that's going to factor into things is Shea Theodore.
Is Robin Lehter.
Robin Lehter. Exactly. Shea Theodore makes $5.2 million. As of today, February the 5th, the Golden Knights have $4.495 million in cap space that they can utilize right now this second. They can sign a player for $4.4 million as long as they got a roster spot and they would fit in the lineup. Shea Theodore makes 5.2. We'll say they just call it 4.5 million of available cap space. So in order to get Shea Theodore back in the lineup, the Golden Knights would have to shed 700 and change off of their current roster. Enter Caden Korczak, who does have a two-way contract and is waivers exempt. Korczak makes $789. Korczak can be sent down to the AHL without another team claiming him, and it frees up enough cap space. So, and that also does include, I believe, Bjornfoot as well. Bjornfoot is on IR right now. So, goal contracts, roster size, injured. Yeah, the Golden Knights have enough room as far as if Bjornfoot and Theodore were to come back, there's a way for it all to work out. So there you go.
All right. At what point do you think VGK, let's say Eichel, is one of those injuries that maybe they want to hold out for the postseason? Is there a certain point that they hold him out until that they put him onto LTIR if it does come down to that, to kind of do a Mark stowaway type of a thing?
It's free. It's a free roll type of situation. So if someone's out their LTIR or their IR time, is retro back to their first game miss. So Jack Eichel obviously has already exhausted more than enough games to qualify for what you need to return for IR or LTIR. So the team has nothing to lose right now by keeping him where he is, unless the Golden Knights wish to make a move. If tomorrow Jack Eichel goes to LTIR, that means on Tuesday you're going to see the Golden Knights announcing a big trade of some sort to possibly, not I want to say replace, but to have a top line center, because Eichel's going to be gone for an extended period of time. If Eichel doesn't, if Eichel doesn't hit LTIR, then you're not going to see anything happen. Will the Golden Knights move him to LTIR? Not unless it's absolutely necessary. But dear God, if it was like 2 weeks go by and all of a sudden Eichel has a setback and he goes to LTIR, it's going to be a poop storm.
Yeah, it definitely could be. So where does William Karlsson fit in?
I mean, it depends on how they want to do this right now. I feel like we can probably spend a whole segment tomorrow talking about the lines if we wanted, but if you look at what Nick
How we
Waugh's
plan
doing.
shows, folks.
Yeah, no, exactly.
This is your first show that you're tuning in.
This is the pre-napkin.
But you did have some napkinness going where you had your lines, right? Where you drew them out. I just saw the numbers. Or did you have the lines picked out with the nicknames? I thought I saw Pickles in there. I thought I saw a Doro in there. No, was that something?
No. Oh, I still got the picture here. So I mean, what I liked, and obviously Dorf, and this is also with Eichel coming back and stuff. So this is really a moving target. But I think they go 1, 2, 3 down the middle. Wah, Stevenson, Karlsson for now. Without Eichel in the lineup, you can't get too cute trying to move players from the center to the wing just based on the depth, especially first game back. I think they'll
third line center.
There you go. Stanley Cup winning third line center, Tony. I'll just get it right here. But you're not going to get cute with it. I think they try and keep Karlsson's minutes as reasonable as possible. I say as possible because McDavid probably skates 23 minutes a game right now. And if McDavid's going to be out there 23 minutes, they're going to try to have Karlsson out there for probably 17 or 18 of those minutes directly on him. I mean, that was the formula last year to beat the Edmonton Oilers, besides obviously getting past their leaky defense and terrible goaltending, and which they don't have this year. So the last thing you have to do is do your best to slow down McDavid, and William Karlsson did that. I mean, William Karlsson's one of the only centers to do that in the game. So, I'll give Karlsson his credit for doing that, and that was a big part of getting by the Edmonton Oilers in that extremely tough series. And, tomorrow's game, well, I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but tomorrow's game means so much more to the Oilers than it does the Golden Knights. No. So much more to the Oilers.
Well, I think they could put a little bit of a dagger into VGK. I think momentum-wise, I think this could really hurt VGK. I think the Golden Knights are putting a lot of time and effort into
But if the Golden Knights lose to the surging Oilers and they win their 17th game in a row, you're supposed to lose to a team like that on a winning streak, especially when you don't have Shea Theodore and Jack Eichel and William Karlsson, who's his first game back. You're supposed to lose that game tomorrow nights. But just what if the Golden Knights didn't lose that game tomorrow night and slow down? It would remind the Oilers that the Golden Knights still got the upper hand.
Coming up next, a look at the month ahead for VGK. We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. It is Super Bowl week. Cannot wait for Super Bowl Sunday. And make sure that you celebrate by going to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you like Super Bowl Sunday like we do as well, it's all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super duper bets. FanDuel has so many things in so many ways that you can end the season on a winning note. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, and currently the odds have San Francisco, the 49ers now, the team that's practicing at UNLV, as a -2.5 point favorite. FanDuel has these bets for you: which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you will get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Welcome back. Locked On Golden Knights, this Monday morning super duper edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick, of course, reporting live and then to tape. I like that. Live to tape. I did see FanDuel has a huge presence on Radio Row. So they have a huge booth. And I'd like to welcome some of my media friends who came into town already. I was out there on Radio Row, just people checking out where they're going to be broadcasting from. Really cool. Great environment there. And I'll be in and out during the course of this week and in and out of the show, I think, too. I'll be here, but I won't be here. And with that being said, I did not watch 1 ounce other than the amazing Kucherov highlights, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. I don't even know what happened in the All-Star game. Did you watch the game?
Austin Matthews' team won both of the quarterfinal or semifinal games. Went to a shootout, I believe. You had some good comebacks. It was, I mean, the All-Star game itself, it's like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's boring hockey, but major props for the skills competition. Definitely enjoyed the skills competition outside of Kucherov making a mockery of it. But it was revamped. Connor McDavid did have a big influence on everything, which obviously McDavid won it. So go figure there, Tony, as your hat says. So, but it was fun. It was fun to watch. And I felt like for a while they were trying to make a show out of the All-Star game and take away the hockey side. That really took a new a turn, I guess, in the Vegas All-Star game. And then this year, instead of making the All-Star game a show or the skills competition a show, they let the players put on a show. They let the players do what they do best. And as a return, I think the NHL was rewarded as far as ratings and things go. And the feedback was much, much better as it has been in the past. So, the NHL got it right. Now I think we're going to be 3 years without an All-Star game because of international competition coming up again.
That's another segment.
Another segment to talk about.
That's on the napkin. That's on the napkin.
So tomorrow's show, we're going to have the preview. We're going to have the international games. And what was I already forgot the other segment. I didn't write it down.
About Karlsson being on the 4th line as the center there. I still believe that a lot could hinge. You might beg to differ. A lot could hinge on the Tuesday game against the Oilers as VGK tries to break that 16-game win streak of Edmonton. It could build. I think it could build momentum for the Vegas Golden Knights. And on the downside, I think it could go and set them back a little bit. We'll have to see how that plays out. Not a real difficult schedule, as you mentioned, for the month of February. They are off again on Valentine's Day, as usual. And so they're at Arizona after that. They host the Wild and the Hurricanes, and then they're off to San Jose. And then we've got VGK against the Preds, the Maple Leafs. Then they have a tough road swing to end the month. It's a 5-game roadie, as they say. And so you've got Ottawa, you've got Toronto, Boston on the road to end this month ahead. And the schedule gets difficult later in the month, but VGK could stock some points. They could really put away some points here if they play with a lot of intensity and pay attention to all the details, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the Golden Knights really got things going last season. It was really a very carbon copy, right? You had, outside of goaltender injuries, which you did not have just yet, you did have other injuries, Mark Stone obviously being the key injury. Shea Theodore had just returned. I'm sure there's other injuries if we go back from a year-over-year perspective. Now you're without Eichel, you're without Theodore, you're just getting Karlsson back, you're without some complementary players. So if the Golden Knights can certainly find a way to bank, I mean, it's a 10-game month, 5 home, 5 away. I got the line at about 12.5 points for the season or for the month. But I would not be surprised if the Golden Knights got 14 or 15 points. This is where you will see the Stanley Cup pedigree make its return as far as what the Golden Knights can do as the games get more intense. You look at the Oilers, they're playing magnificent right now. I'm not going to knock anything about the Oilers. What I'm going to question, do they have the additional gear? Yes, they won 16 regular season games in a row. Fine. As the games get more important, can they shift it even into another gear? Because the Golden Knights will. The Avalanche will. The Dallas Stars even might have a little more of a gear than the Oilers. This is where rookie coach Knobloch, I don't care if you got McDavid and Draisaitl, but this is where that rookie coach is going to have to figure things out fast if they do wish to make good on those Stanley Cup or bust claims. But back to the month of February for the Golden Knights, it doesn't look too difficult. They've got 3 games, then they got 4 days off. The back-to-back is barely a back-to-back in San Jose, back home against Nashville.
That's so
games
weak.
every other day after that for a couple of days. So, yeah, there you
Great.
go, Tony. So if the Golden Knights can find a way for 14 points, that's a really good month. If it's only 10 points, I'm not feeling too good about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got to 15 or greater points. It really would not be a surprise.
So you're setting the line at what? 14 and a half?
12 and a half is my line.
12
and a half is my line. If I'm booking this thing, 12 and a half is the line. I would comfortably take the over if I'm setting
How many
the
games
line.
are there? How many
10.
games?
20 points.
10
10 games.
20 points on the line. 12 and a hook is kind of low. I'd put that line at 13
I think
and
it's
a hook.
reasonable. I think it's reasonable. I'm juicing the over, right? I'm making you pay about minus 140 if you want the over. And I'm only going to give you about
the over on
money
that cheapo line. That's yeah. I'm a Sharpie too.
Oh, I know I know a great sports book that would put that line out there. I know. Oh yeah. It rhymes with never mind. We have a sponsor. I can't say. It's not our sponsor. It's definitely not our sponsor.
We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, the preview of that Edmonton VGK game, which I think could be a barn burner in the VGK barn. We haven't used the term barn yet this season, have we? I don't know. In any event, make sure that you tune in on Fridays to WTF. That's what the Friday. And of course, on Saturday, it's the Chris Times Chris show on YouTube. That's an exclusive there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Welcome to everyone, all the media folks that are trickling into town for the big, big game. I'm going to call it the Super Bowl because what are they going to do? Cease and desist us right now? They got too much going on. And thanks to our everydayers, of course. You make this show tick. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. And please take care.